Alright guys, welcome to ARWP, the All Real Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Novak of the Wrestling Republic, and I'm here with the youngest in charge, Leon Slater.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Glad to be here.
Leon, how old are you?
I'm just turned 18 years old a few months ago.
Crazy, just turned 18. And how long have you been wrestling?
So I started training a week before my 10th birthday. So I guess about 8 years now.
Oh my god. So, okay, I know it's the boring stuff, but let's get out of the way. What made you become a pro wrestler at the age of 10?
So, like, I always say this, like, there's not a time in my life where I cannot remember being obsessed with, like, professional wrestling. So, like, I used to live next to my cousin, and I always used to be at his house playing on the, like, I think it was the PS2 at the time. We always used to be playing the SmackDown versus Raw games. And then, obviously, when he grew out of wrestling, I kind of got the hand-me-downs and stuff of, like, his figures and his, like, replica belts and all that. So, honestly, I can't remember a time where I haven't been into wrestling. So, obviously I was always searching for training schools, and as soon as the opportunity popped up, I found a training school that would accept people that young, I got straight to it, man.
Did they have to put, so I know in like the US culture and in Mexico culture, it's like, hey, you're too young, but we do want you to grow so we can put a mask on you. I don't know how it's like that in the UK, but did you have to go through the same process? Did they have to like age
No,
you?
no, not at all. To be fair, I was like, to be fair though, to the place that I started training, I wasn't in a mask or anything, but they waited a fair bit until I wasn't a 10-year-old child to put me on shows and stuff. So I wasn't really in front of crowds like with no mask on, like as a super young kid.
All right, because I remember when I had Ospreay, he told me that they had to put a mask on him because he was at a young age and they wanted to hide
Mm.
that. So I was very curious if that's what they're still doing now. I know that's what they were doing way back when, but
Yeah,
now
yeah. I
now,
think I
now I
think
guess
it's
they're
definitely
changing
part
it.
of the culture at some point.
Yeah. All right. So let me. What was your first match like? Your very first match. What were you feeling, and how did it go?
So I think my first ever match was a battle royale. It was like an academy, like a little training school battle royale, in front of like friends and family and stuff. And from what I remember, it went pretty well. Like my mum always tells me like she knew I was gonna be a star because I was the only one out of the little kids that came up with the arms above the head, celebrating, doing taunts and all that. But honestly, I don't remember too much from it. But I'm assuming it went well.
Are you still in school?
No, I left school a few years back now,
All
about
right.
2 years.
So how was school like for you? As someone in wrestling and going academics, doing that. How has that been for you?
So at some points it was tough because obviously wrestling isn't a big part of the culture, so people didn't really understand it, and sometimes I was like the butt of the joke, I guess. But I've grown with that, you know what I mean? Like I'm used to it at this point. Um, but I think it was a lot easier because I hadn't really blown up as much as I have now. Like while I was in school, like everything that's kind of all my success, I guess we'll call it, has happened after I've left school.
Yeah.
So my kind of wrestling to school balance was it was pretty even, to be fair. So I'd obviously do school Monday to Friday, and then I'd train on the weekends and maybe have one like a show once a month and that. So yeah, the balance, it was a nice balance while I was in school.
Were your family supportive of your decision to end the academics?
Yeah, yeah, man, like 100%. So like, my dad left when I was like a little boy. So it's just been me and my mum for time, and obviously she knows how like passionate I am about professional wrestling, and she's obviously been with me on this journey from when I started playing at my cousin's house and when I started training. So when I was like, I said to her, I like this is what I want to do. Like I've never had any other kind of goal in my mind apart from to be a professional wrestler. So when the time came when it was looking for options after school, she was like, "Yeah, man, just go for it, chase your dreams."
That's awesome, man. That's so cool to have a support system like that, and just know, like that's one of those harder decisions you can make is to quit academics. Because if you want to get back, you'd have to restart from the beginning. And it's
For
awesome
real.
that she supported you. Literally, that's like the true test of support. Like you could say, "Oh, I
Oh,
support you, this and that," and in the back of your head, you'd be like, "Yeah, but I'm sure she would hope I would have like a plan B or this and that." But if she lets you, leave your academics, that means she fully support. So
yeah.
how's that for your mental health? You know what I mean? Because I always bring this up with every wrestler. This is one of the hardest businesses out there, and having literally everything on the line. You know what I mean? It's all on you. How's that been for you?
So at times, to be honest, bro, it's a real roller coaster of stuff. So obviously, with all the kind of success I've had this year, it's been like my mental health has been the best it's ever been, and kind of the worst it's ever been at the same time. You know what I mean? So, there's points where like it doesn't really hit me, like, and I don't really realize kind of what I'm doing, and then like I'll be sat in my bed or laid in my bed on a night, and I'll just be thinking, holy shit, like I am living what I've been wanting to live since I was a little boy. And like sometimes the pressure does get to me, but I think I have that confidence in myself where I just kind of power through it. And sometimes because so much of my time now is focused on wrestling, like I was talking about earlier, that kind of real life to wrestling balance kind of gets a bit blurred, and I don't really have any life outside of wrestling. Like I have my friends at home and stuff, but I don't really have any hobbies or anything like that really outside of wrestling. So sometimes it does get a bit overwhelming. But I always try and remind myself of the position I'm in. And like a lot of people would kill to be in the position I'm in. So I always just try and stay grateful and thankful for the position.
How is it, since we're all human, it's part of life that once in a while we fail. Once in a while, what we expect we want, or like we'll put it out there and we'll get like a rejection. Again, you're 18. I'm giving these hard questions because there are people who are your age watching this right now who are also pushing themselves. How has rejection been for you? How is that? Because I know you've had that at one point or another. So tell me about that a little bit.
So honestly, bro, like I was I got rejected a lot of times, especially when it comes to like getting on shows and stuff when I was like a bit younger, when I was like 16, just because of obviously wrestling's a weird one, because if you want to hold a wrestling event, you can't license it as a sports event in the UK, but at the same time you can't license it as a theater, so it kind of comes in this little middle ground. And to get a under 18 on them type of shows is a very, very tough deal in the UK, especially. So there was times like when I was a bit younger, when I was like 16, where I knew I was good enough to be on like certain shows, and the promoters knew I was good enough, but it was stuff to do with the council and the government, and I just couldn't get on shows. And honestly, I just used that as fuel. So like right now I'm on this crazy run, and I just every time I arrive to a show, every time before I step out of the curtain, I think these people don't want me to be here, but I am here because of me. I've got the support of my family and my friends and that, but this is me from my hard work. And again, it just reminds me how grateful I need to be for the position I'm in, because at one point I wasn't allowed to be in the position I'm in right now.
Yeah. So what would you say to anyone who's watching this, who's younger than you or at the same age as you, who's going through this exact same process? What would you say to them?
My kind of advice would be, rejection is the best fuel, in my opinion. And doubt, other people's doubt, is the best fuel. So if you have that confidence within yourself that this is what you want to do, and that you are working hard at this, you will succeed eventually. Even if people are doubting you, even if people don't want you to succeed, you will succeed eventually. And it's all a mental game. So rejection is just a part of the game. You know what I mean? Like if you get rejected, okay, you take it, you absorb it, and you move on to the next one. If you get rejected again, you do the same thing. You take it, you absorb it, and you move on. But if you keep putting in that hard work and you keep your head down, then success will eventually come.
Perfectly said. Beautifully done. Let's talk about your body right now. Let's talk about, the moves they do in the ring. They're not easy moves. How much damage are you putting into your body after a weekend of wrestling?
Yeah, so sometimes I come out of weekends pretty banged up, man. I'm not gonna lie, because I do wrestle a pretty high impact style, and obviously I've been doing this since I was like I said, like just before I was 10 years old. So I think my body is a bit more banged up than like the average 18-year-old per se. But like I feel good, man. I feel healthy. Like I'm in the gym pretty regularly and stuff like that. So I don't feel like a crippled old man quite yet. But yeah, man, so sometimes it all comes crashing down on a Monday after a big weekend of wrestling, for sure.
Yeah, you told me last time we spoke you had a week of wrestling. It was a full week of wrestling. So, and I know something happened too, because I asked you how was it, and you're like, oh, I got cut short or something happened.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I was supposed to have this like real crazy run in like late October, I think it was. So I had I think it was a 10-day run, literally. It was like I had the the British J Cup for RevPro on a Saturday. Then I wrestled Ricky Knight Jr. in the Natural Progression tournament for Progress the next day. Then I was supposed to have a week from Monday to Thursday. I was supposed to have what we call camp shows over here, which is like little town shows, little family shows for the kids and stuff like that.
That's
So I was
awesome.
supposed to have a Monday through Thursday run of that, which unfortunately got cancelled. And then I can't remember what it was. But I had something on the 28th, and then I had a weekend for TNT Wrestling in Liverpool to finish it off. So yeah, it would have been a crazy 10-day run, but I guess kind of luckily for me, I got the 4-day break in between.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, nothing happened. Like, cause I was worried. We told me something like it didn't work out. I thought maybe you got hurt. Maybe something happened. It was just bad situation when it comes to like event wise, date wise. Didn't work out.
Yeah. I think they were struggling on tickets or something, and unfortunately, the event had to be the run had to be cancelled. But it is what it is. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was that the same weekend you were supposed to face Leo in the cup or?
Yeah.
So talk to me about that, because I've watched Leo since I was a kid, and Leo at one point was just an independent name, and
Yeah.
he was also one of those guys that like people did not look at him because of his height. People were like, "Oh, he's not gonna make it into the WWE. He's not gonna make it into holding titles in Japan and this and that." So tell me how was like getting in the ring and training ring with him?
To be honest, it was a very, very surreal experience because Leo is someone I've genuinely looked up to for a while now. I remember me and my friends used to watch like the PWG highlights on YouTube, and one of the clips on it, they do the little intro bits. One of the intro bits on one of the videos was him and Ricochet, where he chases Ricochet out the ring, like he beats Ricochet like in the fast stuff, and that was like crazy at the time because Ricochet was like on top of his game. He was like top guy on the Indies at the time. So I've been watching Leo for a while, man, and like to get the pleasure to wrestle him and to meet him and just to kind of pick his brain for the day. It's another thing I'm very grateful for, and I'm very, very glad I did it.
You want to share anything that you guys talked about? You want to share like a small thing, or you want to keep whatever you talked about to yourself?
Yeah. So I was just asking him about like how he finds like his schedule and stuff like that. So I think at the time he had like a little UK tour going, so he was wrestling 3-4 days on a trot, and then he was telling me he had to go back to America to do PWG, and then the week after that he was going to Japan. But I think he has a similar mindset to me, where it's like he accepts the pressure and he's grateful for the pressure because at one point he didn't have the pressure. You know what I mean? And we're in this job by choice. So you choose to put this pressure on yourself. And like I said, I think we share a similar mindset of being grateful for the pressure.
Yeah, when I heard you're facing Leo, I was really ecstatic. And it's cool to hear this whole story. And one of those things, because Leo kind of took a hiatus. Leo, had his own, things he had to go through and this and that. So I was definitely curious if he gave you any advice as a young kid in a big world like wrestling, when it comes to building a schedule, but also it's like just taking it slow because it is overwhelming. So repeat that.
My bad, bro. What do you say? My bad.
Sorry, I said like he. I remember because I know he does like podcast interviews and stuff, and I know he always talks about how it's like the young kids, they never stay in the moment because it gets overwhelming. It gets very hectic, and you forget where you are at times. Has that happened to you yet?
Yeah. So like, this is something that I'm trying to focus on, like on the back end of this year, going into next year. Because for the first half of this year, my life has just been taken off. Like since March, I guess, my life's just been like big news after big news after big news after big news. And for a while, I was just kind of going through the motions of it. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't really appreciating what I was doing. I never really took the time to go, wow, look at this. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the point. Like I was saying earlier, where it hit me in like a big wave of emotion, and it'd be very, very overwhelming. So now I'm just trying to focus on being in the moment more, taking a little moment before I go out of the curtain to, say a little prayer or something, taking a moment after the match to just admire the crowd, the people that have paid to come and watch us. And like, especially before the bell rings, this is something I'm like very, very conscious of now. I try and kind of scan my surroundings before the bell rings. So everyone's made their entrance, the referee's about to ring the bell. I scan around the crowd, I scan my opponent, I take a deep breath, I go, here we go. and then here we go. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely something I'm more conscious of now.
That's awesome. So I got to talk about this. Like you said, you have a huge schedule. Multiple opportunities have been coming your way. What was the first big moment for you? Like that call that made you jump out of your seat that you had to go tell your mom. What was it? What was the big one?
That's actually funny how you phrase that question, because I remember when I got the message to first compete for Progress in March. That was literally the first thing I did. I was in my bedroom and I ran into the lounge, the living room, and I said, "Mom, I'm on Progress. I'm on Progress." And we were jumping for joy in the living room and everything. And that was in like March time, and I think that's the kind of thing that kind of set this spiral effect off. So like this year, it's just been event to event to event, and like I remember when I got on Progress, it was the first time I did the corner dive, and then the corner dive blew up on Twitter, and then I got on RevPro, and then I'm on GCW, and I'm doing all this stuff. But I think Progress, or there's a company up north in England called North. I attempted a 450 there. And I broke the light because the lights were a bit low, and I jumped pretty high, so I smashed the light, and that kind of blew up as well. So I'd say those two moments were the ones that kind of really set me off on one of our first big moments this year.
I love stories like that. I love that you're honest about it. That's really cool, man. You know, I gotta give you a lot of credit because the way this year started off for you, the last 2 years have been probably the hardest years of your life. So let's just go back for a couple minutes and tell me how that was like when COVID hit. Basically, it was hard to get bookings, and at that point, you're with yourself alone. You're asking yourself, if this is like how it is for the next 2 years, how am I gonna financially help my mom? How am I gonna financially support myself, or even continue my dreams? What were you doing at that point?
So to be honest, I think I handled COVID pretty well when it comes to wrestling, because like I was saying, I've only really blown up this year. Like I wasn't really doing too much before about October 2021 is when I really started getting on shows like for real, like properly. So during COVID times, I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about wrestling. I guess that was my way of coping with it. Like, I guess my mind was, if I can't do it, then I don't want to be around it. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to play the games. I don't want to do nothing. You know what I mean? So that's where I kind of developed my interest in basketball. That's when I first got into that. I remember watching The Last Dance, and that kind of spurred my interest in basketball. But COVID was tough, man. Like, obviously it was a tough time for everyone. Like, money was low. And I was wondering, like, what can I do to help my mum out here? Because like I was saying earlier, we're kind of a three-person family, me, my sister, and my mum. So it was stress at some times, but we came together and we handled it well. And then obviously when wrestling came back, I got straight back into it.
All right, that's good to hear. I'm happy that no terrible damage hit. And it's also like, dude, the way you coped is a very normal way of just saying, oh, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to look at it, see it. It's the hardest thing, but it's the most like simple thing to just not pay attention to. And it's good that you found loving your basketball. It's good that you gave yourself a second reach, and probably went outside, probably played with your friends also. So just took your time off of it and things like that. That's great to hear. Man, let's talk about progress. Let's talk about the first call. Let's talk about the first match. Like you said, you always want to take a look outside the arena, know your surroundings. Tell me about that first progress match you had. You were probably shivering in your boots, knowing this is your first big opportunity. Who was there in the locker room? What was, give me like a story. Give me a genuine story of like what was going on.
So that whole kind of few days was like really, really special to me, because it was the first, like we said, it was like the first kind of step up to a next level for me in wrestling. So me, my mum and my girlfriend all went down to London for a few days, because I've never been to London before that either. So it was a big occasion for us. So we spent a few days in London. And I remember turning up to the venue and seeing the ring set up and seeing the Progress logo in the middle of the ring. I was like, wow, I am here. Like, it was another very, very surreal moment. And like, even stepping in the locker room, I'd never been in a locker room of that caliber before. So there was like John Gresham, Darius Lockhart, and like a bunch of other people. which was like a cool full circle moment for me because obviously coming up as like a younger guy, I had to pay my dues doing like ring crew and stuff like that. And like I remember Sugar Dunkerton was on the show, in fact, and I remember this. I was doing ring crew at a show, and he was the only person to thank me for doing the ring job. And I always remembered that, and I finally got the chance to tell him how much I appreciated it at that show. So yeah, man, like that whole kind of few days was, like I said, a very, very special occasion.
Did you push yourself to talk to any of the bigger names on that roster? Did you? Because I don't know. Like, I'm not. I was never in this situation where it's like you're the new guy. You're going in there to impress everyone. But were you also like fanboying? Were you like, oh, let me go see what he like, any advice he can give me before a match? Did you try to talk to any of like the Gresham or anyone like that?
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was real shy. I didn't speak to no one.
No, listen. I love honesty.
Real shy. To be honest, I just tried to keep my head down and focus on my match, and make sure that I put the best performance that I could. So when it came to like asking for advice and stuff of like the people like Gresham and Darius Lockhart and those type of caliber people that were in the locker room, I was real shy.
What was the first big company that made you leave your own area? Like you had to fly out, come to the States. What was that? What was that first company?
So, like, as far as flying goes, it was GCW. That was the first ever time it was I took an international booking. But like prior to Progress, I was only really doing shows in the north of England, and obviously Progress is down in the south. So that was the first time I kind of had to get like a couple-hour train to a show and like kind of stay over. But yeah, as far as international, GCW was the first.
So let's talk about GCW. Hell of a different crowd. I'm sure you felt like a complete foreigner in a situation. And even someone like me who's in New York and they run shows in Atlantic City, and we'll talk about Atlantic City because there's other stuff happening there. I have seen wrestling fans, I've seen wrestling crowds, but they are just a different animal in GCW, and I love it. And I feel like an outsider from it. So tell me, what was going through your head when you got into GCW, or even when you looked up what GCW was, and you were like, I'm gonna be there. I might not live to see tomorrow, or I might not be able to get on a flight. Tell me what's going through your head.
So I remember the first ever GCW show I did, which was the one they had in Liverpool. So that was like a whole weekend that they did. I think they did Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I was there on the Thursday just to support a couple of my friends that were on like the kind of collab show because it was TNT and GCW. So I was just there to support my boys. And then someone unfortunately pulled out of the Friday show, and it was actually Tony Deppen because he had seen me wrestle Speedball at RevPro. That put the word in for me with Brett and told him to get me in his four-way on a Friday. And this is another moment where the first thing I did, I called my mum up on the phone. Mum, I'm on GCW. I did it. Yeah, man, like again, another very surreal moment, like walking out and seeing the GCW logo on like the little Titantron behind me. And yeah, man, another like moment I was super grateful for. And even in the UK, the crowds were wild. Like GCW crowds is 100% the most rowdy, like wild crowd I think I've ever wrestled in front of. And obviously when I came to the States, it's just leveled up even more, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, GCW it's a different animal. It's a different beast.
Did you come by yourself to the States when when you had to fly out and do all that? Came by yourself?
Yeah, that was real scary because that was like the first time I ever been on a plane on my own, and obviously it's a lengthy flight to America from the UK. So yeah, I came on my own.
So tell me about that. Tell me about that whole experience of you flying out, getting there, getting to the hotel, seeing the guys, the gals, and then like just training before the match, things like that. Just tell me how that whole journey was.
Yeah, man. So I remember that was a long travel there because I had to fly from London, which is like 4 hours from where I'm living at. So I had to get a coach through the night, which was like I think the coach was like 6 hours because we had to stop off at places. So that was already a hell of a journey. And then when I got to the airport, I checked on my bags and stuff. Flew on a plane. That was another 6 hours. I arrived in JFK. I was stranded there for like a couple hours, but by nobody's fault. And then eventually I got to my hotel, and I finally could take a breath. And by the time I knew it, we were setting off to what was the first one? The first one was Jersey. The first one was Jersey. There was like the for JCW I did on that day, like the big Survivor Series tag. And like obviously to that point, I was with total strangers. Like I didn't know no one. So it was nice when I turned up to the show to see people like Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne and people like that had come over to the UK. And just see some familiar faces, man. And like this is one thing I will say about the GCW locker room. They are one of the most welcoming locker rooms I've ever been in my life. Like, when I've been over there and when they've been over here, I've never felt like a stranger or a foreigner or anything like that. So big credits to them.
Yeah, I know my last guest on the show was Griffin McCoy, and we were just talking about that match too, like less than a week ago, because it only happened like 2 weeks ago, that match.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I told him, like, dude, what we just saw was the literal future of pro wrestling. The people that are going to be main eventing, people that are going to be in the top 10 list of PWI or whatever, literally all just got in the ring together to have this whole Survivor. Like, that match will age in absolute glory because all of you are going to become stars. You're also doing it for the first time. And I know you didn't see it, but I posted a story to you already just now because the match they announced is you and Nick Wayne. And
oh yeah.
When I say that that's gonna write a story, that's gonna be a book. That first match is gonna write a book to many, many, many more you guys are gonna have. If people loved what Ricochet and Ospreay did way back, this is just about to be exactly that. And
yeah,
I can't say I don't want to say it's better because I know you're not gonna agree with that, but like it will be its own generation. People that are watching it the first time are gonna be like, I want to become a wrestler just because I just saw what I just saw.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And like Nick is someone that I've wanted to wrestle for a while now. Like I remember seeing his stuff in Defy, like late last year, earlier this year. And like as soon as I saw him and I found out he was as young as he is, I was like, man, we are destined to wrestle at some point. It's got to happen. So I'm glad it's happening in the show, but I think it's on the 1st of January, that one. So I'm very, very pleased that that's happening.
Man, everyone who's going to be partying that night are going to come and they're going to see that's an amazing way. Even I might show up. I'm not far from there. Couple 2-hour drive. I would show. It's going to be the first match of many, many more. So what's going through your head right now? Because I know I'm sure you probably heard about it a couple days ago. They probably just announced it today. Yeah. But like, what was going through your head? Because I know there's a lot of pressure now. Because there's gonna be a lot of eyes on that match. Just understand that every website's gonna post about it. Every article is gonna have an article about it. Like it's gonna go huge. So this is probably gonna be the biggest match that's gonna lead to everyone knowing who you are. Because it's one of those things where it's like you two are very even, very equal, and you're both so young in this game that you're giving everyone a chance. So, tell me about that.
Yeah, man. So, like, as soon as I found out I was wrestling him, I was super, super excited because, like I said, he's been someone that I wanted to wrestle for a while. And, like, I thought it would happen a few times by now. Like, when he's come over to the UK, I think he's come over 2 or 3 times. We never interacted or wrestled. So, like I said, I'm glad it's happening in the show, but for sure. But like you said, I feel like we truly are the next generation. And I think along with like a few other people, we are the figureheads of the next generation. And I take that kind of pressure and that responsibility. And I'm proud that I am the one with that pressure and responsibility. You know what I mean? And I think he feels the same way. So January 1st, man, it's going to be a different level. It's going to be a different level. And I know that people aren't going to look at it and go, oh yeah, that was good for some young guys. They're going to go, no, that was perhaps match of the year on the first day of the year. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait.
Are you going to push yourself all the way more than you've ever have in that match to give it like, to make it match of the year? Because it's going to be literally the first match of the year. So 100%.
100%. I want this match to be the one where people look at it for the rest of the year and go, damn, we have to beat that. You know what I mean?
So now let's talk about the future. Let's talk about upcoming things we want to put into the universe. And our promoters, this and that, will see it. And then more fans will tweet at it. And we'll get you to more opportunities. First off, since it's tomorrow, you have a huge match for RevPro. And it's against Zack Sabre Jr., who, one of the biggest UK wrestlers. He made a name for himself everywhere. He is, I believe, ahead of Ospreay in wins and losses in their history of matches. Yeah, he's got like one up, I believe. So
Yeah.
he's a different caliber. Not a lot of people can face him, and he solidifies himself as the greatest UK wrestler. What do you think about all that?
Honestly, bro, I agree with all you said. Like, Zach is one of the greatest wrestlers to ever come out of the UK, along with a couple other people. And like, to be the one that's chosen for him on his first match back in like 2 years, like literally the last match he had was against Will, for the title, which he lost. And he hasn't been back to the UK in 2 years. So to be the first kind of return match for him, it's an honor, honestly. It's an honor. And I'm really looking forward to it because I don't think people realize just how ready I am. Like, obviously people see me as like a high flyer and a flippy kid, I guess, but I'm from the UK, man. All we do is technical wrestling. And I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready. And I'm gonna prove that to everyone that's gonna watch tomorrow. And I think it's gonna lead to a lot bigger things for me.
Yeah, man. So, when did you find out you were gonna wrestle Zach? When was that gonna? And what was your thoughts on that? Because that's a match that's gonna be all eyes. Also, you know what I mean? When you're facing a top name like that who's returning also back, it's like, okay, people are gonna be watching this match. So what was going through your head?
So I found out, I think just after the J Cup that I was going to be wrestling Zach. And like when Quilder messaged me, I was like, okay, yeah, okay, whatever, okay. And it wasn't really until the graphic hit and I saw my face next to his face that I was like, oh shit. I'm wrestling Zack Sabre Jr. in York Hall for RevPro. And like, if you'd have told me that I was going to be doing this time last year, I would have laughed in your face. I would have honestly laughed in your face. It is unreal that I'm about to be wrestling Zack Sabre Jr. But like I said, it's an honor to be his first match back. And I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. Are you gonna talk to him about it? Are you gonna ask him for any advice? Are you gonna try to? Because he's a genius. Zach is a technical genius. People could say he's the greatest technical wrestler ever in wrestling. Like the way he is. Are you gonna try to talk to him before, after, and like just get a few ideas or advice from him?
100%. Like, I think to not pick his brain, like him being a talent, the caliber that he is. You know what I mean? So whether it's before or after, I will 100% be picking his brains and asking for little tips and tricks and advice.
Awesome. So what's up with the future? RevPro, you've had so many matches in RevPro already. And now that they're giving you this, you're just moving up higher and higher. I love seeing when companies do this. I said the same thing. I know you wrestled him, so I'm going to bring it up. When I had Blake Christian on, he was also one of those guys who just started out at the time, and then GCW offered him opportunities like Moxley for the GCW title. It's like you love to see a young underdog work his way to the point where it's like, okay, you're in the main event spot. So who would you want to face in that main event spot? I know Ospreay is holding the title right now, right? No, Ricky Knight Jr. is holding the title.
Ricky's holding the belt right now, yeah.
Ricky Knight Jr. And I know you fought him already.
Yeah.
How was that match?
So I've wrestled Ricky actually 3 times now. So I wrestled Ricky when I was about 14 and he was about 17, I think he was, in the 4-way, like way back, when we weren't even close to the wrestlers that we are now. And that was real fun. But like wrestling Ricky now is like a different experience. Like when I find out I'm wrestling Ricky, I really have to prepare because like, man, he's a physical dude and like he can move just as quick as me. He's strong, you know what I mean? But I always have a bunch of fun wrestling Ricky, man. I feel like we just got that kind of chemistry where we click when we're in the ring, you know what I mean? We've never had a match where it's not had a standing ovation follow it, you know what I mean? So Ricky is definitely something I'd like to run back in RevPro. And then as far as like other main events in RevPro, I guess the obvious one is Ospreay.
That hasn't happened yet? You and Ospreay have never?
Nah, not yet, brother, not yet. But that's something I've been putting into the universe for real.
I know you and Ospreay shut the ring multiple times, and I know he's a very wise person, even though he'll say a lot about himself. I know he's a very, very wise person in the ring. Have you talked to him about, your situation, wrestling, this and that? Has he given you any advice throughout the time?
So honestly, I haven't even had too many interactions with Will.
Really?
So I remember the first time I met him was when I wrestled speedball at York Hall, and like talking about surreal experiences so far, like that was another really big one because obviously Will is someone that everyone in the UK looks up to, and especially people that wrestle my style, we look up to him massively. So like just to see him in person, like walking across a room was crazy. And I remember introducing myself to him. I got midway through my sentence. I went, "Hi, man, I'm Leon." I shook his hand. And before I could even finish my sentence, he was like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot of good things." And I was like, "What? Will Ospreay has heard good things about me." That was crazy. But not quite yet. I haven't had a chance to pick his brains yet. But he's there on Saturday too. He's wrestling Ishii, so that'll be another super fight. So I'm a defo try and pick his brains as we get on more shows together for sure.
Was he wearing the Versace robe? Did he come in like fully? Yeah.
No, he was pretty chilled out because he was pre-show. He was just chilling out. But like once he gets into his gear and he's got like the baggy entrance pants and the big robe, like he looks like $1 million, man, for real.
I gotta ask, did you ever face Francesco Akira?
No, actually, I have never had the chance to wrestle Akira, but obviously him being kind of tied to Will now in the Empire, maybe that's something that can come around in the near future.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Even before that, you're talking about you're facing Mike Bailey. I know he fought Mike Bailey. I also know he fought Gabriel Kidd, and it's like looking into the young wrestlers right now. And I know there's so many. RevPro. It's never been this much. RevPro is generating these young talents. There's so many young names that are gonna be headline stars. You're one of them. Akira, I saw potential in even way before when he was in AJPW, and I feel like it's one of those things where we definitely need, even though it's probably at the end of Empire now, even before he joined Empire, I definitely want to see you and Akira. That should be another great match.
Yeah, man, and like we putting it into the universe right now, so who knows what's gonna happen next year? I'm sure we'll definitely mix it up at some point.
Yeah. So what's the next RevPro match you'd want to give yourself, or next opponent you'd want to give yourself? Not even RevPro. Just name me like 3 opponents you'd want to get in the ring with for 2023. How cool is that? Literally in less than a few weeks.
For the whole year. So I think obviously Will is a big one. I'd like to wrestle Will next year. I'd like to wrestle Swerve. I don't know how realistic that is, but I'd like to wrestle Swerve at some point next year. And another one. I'd like to wrestle Myron Reed. I think he's wicked, man. He's someone I've been watching for a while, like since the early MLW stuff with Injustice. So probably them 3 guys, Ospreay, Swerve, and Myron Reed is probably my top 3 for 2023 for sure.
You take US bookings, right? You're taking US bookings.
Yeah.
All right. And all right. Well, okay. So I'll ask you something afterwards after the interview. But yeah, Myron Reed and you would be. I never even. You guys never did that before. Did that never happen?
Never. No. Because he was meant to come over to the UK one time, but I think some complications happened and he couldn't make it over, unfortunately. And obviously, I've only just started going over to the US for GCW, so yeah, we never got a chance to mix it up.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's a really and Swerve. You put up 3 guys that like are really doing a lot right now, and like this is like the best time. Man, that's great. I love to see it. So another thing I wanted to ask you is something that's really important is tag team wrestling. I feel like tag team wrestling always needed, especially with singles action. Do you have a tag team partner that if you need to go into tag team action, you know who to get, or who would you say is the best person you'd like to tag team with?
100%. So like we got a little group in the UK we call Britain's Most Wanted right now. So it's me, man like Darius, and a driller man, Dan Maloney. So we the kind of trio that runs the UK at the minute. So if I'm ever in need of a partner or 2, those are definitely the guys I call.
Didn't you and Dan Maloney wrestle recently? I definitely saw that you guys had a match together. How was that like?
Yeah, so we haven't wrestled yet, but we're supposed to be wrestling in a few weeks for TNT. And that's actually for the TNT World Championship. So fingers crossed your boy can bring it home. You know what I mean? But yeah, like, again, Dan is someone that I've looked up to for a while, even before I met him. And I've only known Dan for about a year, but like, nobody's looked after me as much as he has. And I see him as a big brother in the game now. So to wrestle him on like a big show like TNT and a big main event for the belt, like it's something I'm really looking forward to for sure.
How did that come together? Why are you guys, how did you and him get to the top spot for the title? Where did the story go from there?
So I think the belt was vacated through COVID, and then obviously Dan being Dan, obviously Dan's gonna win it. You know what I mean? Like he's our top guy in the UK at the moment, I would say. And then obviously me being on the run that I'm on at the minute, I feel like we're just on a collision course, kind of. You know what I mean? And obviously with the kind of backstory of us being as close as we are, it's a story to put forward already, right? So when there was question for Dan's next opponent, I think I was kind of the first one to come to the TNT management's mind.
Wow, that's awesome. See, that's awesome to hear that. Like people are like, oh, wait, we need to give him a main event opponent. They think of you. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah. I'm like, that's another thing. That's, to be honest, that's something I appreciate even more than the matches. I'm very grateful that these promoters and these kind of people that run the highest of the high in UK wrestling have that trust in me to put me in these situations, and that's something I value very, very deeply.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about companies for a second. And I'm not gonna say which company would you want to go to or would you want to sign to. It's just simple. Where do you want to see yourself in 2023? Where would you want to be? And I'm sure you want to be everywhere, but like, there's New Japan Strong right now. New Japan is definitely looking at the UK scene. There's MLW that just came back for a new season. They went to Japan to get Dragon Gate guys. You know what I mean? Wrestling has just flipped over where it's now like we want everybody and we're looking at everything. This is the time to have your content out everywhere. So where would you want to see yourself? Even places like Revolver, Defy, Progress. A lot of good companies out there.
Yeah, man. So like, to be honest, I just want to complete as much as I can. So like, my goal for wrestling is to look back when I retire and go, damn, I really completed this shit. I did everything there was to do. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm kind of on everything in the UK right now. So as far as like the rest of the world goes, I'd love to go to Japan at some point, maybe with DDT, or New Japan if I'm lucky. You know what I mean? And then obviously I'd like to do a lot more stuff in the States. So I'd like to do more with GCW, maybe Black Label Pro, West Coast Pro, Defy is another very big one for me. Obviously Revolver is another very big one. But I think for me next year, America is definitely the next step. I think I want to conquer America next year as much as I can.
I love to hear it. I love to see it. So, tell me, this is probably going to be the last question because I know I've been asking you way too many already, but did you have a time in your career where everything stood still? That your heart, like you couldn't even feel your heartbeat. You were just so shocked. It could have been after a match, could have been after winning a belt, could have been after, winning a match or anything. But like the first time where it's like, this is life and I need to just take a mental screenshot of everything that just happened.
100%, man. Like as soon as you asked that question, one thing and one thing only came to mind. So it was after I wrestled Speedball. We got standing ovation for the match, and after Speedball had left, the standing ovation carried on, like just for me. And I remember because that was my first York Hall, which is like RevPro's like big kind of pay-per-view venue, and like historic stuff has happened there. You know what I mean? Like AJ Styles has wrestled there, Tanahashi has wrestled there, so it's a real historic venue for us in the UK. And obviously, after having the match of my life against Speedball and getting that standing ovation, I remember it exactly. I fell to my knees, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I fell to my knees and I put my head in my palms and I just started bawling my eyes out. And like I didn't try to stop it because I knew, this is right. This is right for the moment. And I just cried and cried, man, because that was the first time, like you said, I was really like looking around and like, damn, this is life. Like I've been wanting this since I was 3 years old. You know what I mean? I've been training for this since I was 10 years old. And like, this is what I've been working for. So I remember walking to the back and the first people there was Michael Oku and Dan and Ricky Knight Jr. And like, man, they just took me in, man. And because they know how hard I work, you know what I mean? So that was definitely the first moment and probably one of the only moments where it's really hit me, like when I'm actually in the ring, like what I've accomplished and what I'm doing with my life right now.
That's terrific, dude. I love to hear these stories, and like people out there are gonna cry just from hearing things like this, because it's like one of those things where it's like wrestlers never share this stuff, and this is just so real. That's why the podcast is called All Real Wrestling, because we want to get into the emotion. Man, how can people follow you? How can people support you? You're a lovable guy. I want to buy some shirts. How can people, buy your merch? How does this all work? Let me know.
Yo, so I just got a new Twitter, so if you could hit up the Twitter, that would be much appreciated, because I got locked because obviously I signed up to it when I was too young. So the Twitter is Leon Slater _. Same with the Instagram, Leon Slater _. The YouTube, if you want to check out some of my matches, is just Leon Slater. And then if you want to cop a t-shirt, it is official 0.01 at bigcartel.com. I got my new shirt, the Youngest in Charge shirt, up on there, if you want to check that out. And I think that's about it. Thank you, bro.
And of course, man, thank you so much for coming on. I know we've been doing this for a while. Man, I'm so happy we got to do it. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Thank you, Leon Slater, the Youngest in Charge. Man, that's awesome. We'll see everyone next time.
Peace out, man.